What is up, my friends? Welcome back to the Wallet Monkey channel, where we talk about all things credit. We give you the keys to not only establishing relationships with the banks, but also building your credit profile. Speaking of which, one thing we haven't talked about, which we should give more attention to, is this eluding Fico10 and 10T rollout, which supposedly was going to happen in 2020, and it was going to, roll out immediately and completely disrupt many things. Authorized users, personal loans were going to be looked at negatively, and everyone was confused. I remember everyone was kind of freaking out back then. It still looks like most institutions are not using this, but let's start off and kind of work our way through this. Fico10 is the latest installment. By far, it's the most comprehensive. They're really, promoting this thing as the most comprehensive and best, FICO product that they've created. I hope it is. It's the latest one. It took them, when was Fico9 rolled out? 5 or 6 years ago, right? So they've been working on it for a long time, but we can confirm that it did roll out by the end of 2020, but only to lenders. They've had access to this data. Now, I don't know if this is a reason why you're getting denied. It could be. I kind of doubt it because, the institutions would be telling you that they're pulling Fico10. I assume they would. If they're pulling Fico10 and it got on their website that they're pulling Fico8 or 9, or you just think that they are, or that's the data that you're given, that's kind of crappy. But I assume that they're gonna obviously all let you know if they're pulling from Fico10. And I don't know of a single bank who's promoting and talking about the fact that they're pulling Fico10 just yet. But in the original press release that they put out, they said that the 10 and 10T provide a precise assessment of consumer risk on all credit product lines: mortgage, auto loan, credit cards, personal loans, and can be used across the entire customer credit lifecycle, starting with marketing, pre-screen, originations, and account management, all the way through early stage collections. The new FICO score suite will be available to lenders throughout the US, blah, 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 in the summer. They were planning on running this out in the summer, but they couldn't. Okay, so now let's look at the product suite itself. Here's the biggest change, is they are going to be able to get a look at the previous 24 months, creating a more complete financial picture of you and your habits. They're going to get to see what the minimum payment was and what payment you made. Collections and late payments are going to be looked at way more strongly. So as you can see here with the Fico10 suite, the impact of late payments is more pronounced, and so is credit card utilization, which I thought was interesting. So even though credit card utilization still represents 35% of the little pie chart that FICO pushes out, it's going to represent more than that. It's going to be more pronounced than that, apparently. But yeah, they'll get a look at 24 months. And so what they want to see is that over time, you're paying off your balance, and that over time, you aren't increasing balances. And if you are increasing balances over time, well, then that's going to tell them something. And that might tell them that, hey, we don't want to extend this person credit, or we don't want to give them a credit limit increase, whatever it is. Delinquencies on your credit reports occur when a missed payment or credit obligation. Yeah, with Fico10 suite, the impact of late payments will be more pronounced than with prior versions. Okay, so if you miss payments, you're more likely to experience a more severe drop. I mean, if they're telling you that you could expect a severe drop, then, if the typical late payment is what, like a 50 to 80 point drop, what are we talking, over 100 points now? 150 points for a late payment? Gosh. That's tough, man. I think the only reason why they waited to hold this off is because the whole Corona thing. I think otherwise we would have been seeing this adopted way more. Credit utilization has long been a component of credit scoring models. Its impact is more pronounced in Fico10. They don't really say what that means though. So I guess that just means that we should look at it as more than 35%, even though that's still the pie chart, right? So utilization is even more important. Personal loans might lower your Fico10. I remember everyone was freaking out about this. There was limited data at the time, but essentially they came back and clarified. So here's what it means. They're not going to penalize you for going and getting a personal loan, which I think it'd be really hard for them to do that, because basically what they said is that they don't really like unsecured personal loans. But a secured personal loan, I assume they're okay with. But on the unsecured personal loan side, the only way it becomes a problem with the Fico10 model, from what they're explaining, and you start to become high risk actually, is if you go and get an unsecured personal loan and you use that to pay off all your credit cards or do a debt consolidation, but then you go and run those cards up again, you've essentially just doubled your debt. They look at that as a huge, kind of blemish on your profile, right? And so what we're starting to see is that what you've done in the past and how you are managing your finances month to month matter more. I'm truly a little bit surprised that they're not even taking into consideration your bank account and how, if you were to overdraft your bank account, that could be denying you. It's going to get to that point. It's going to get ridiculous. So I guess this is a little bit of a warning to those of you who maybe are already struggling. Maybe you think credit building is already hard, or you're having issues, is don't expect it to get easier. And I know that that's kind of a crappy message to give you. It seems like it's only going to get tougher. So, and they even tell you, if you have a good credit score, you can expect your score to get even better. If you have a poor FICO score, you can expect it to get even worse. I mean, isn't that like the definition of a lot of things going on, right? Rich are getting richer, poor are getting poor. Erasing of that kind of middle line. We're seeing similar here. Is like if you're just kind of getting by, just kind of passing along, you're probably going to dip down. And if you are above the good line, good credit score, then you're probably going to get a bump when it starts to really get rolled out, which who knows when this will be, but you need to know this stuff. And Fico10 has been on the chopping block since the beginning of 2020. It did get rolled out by the end of 2020 to lenders, so that's where it's at. I've not seen a single institution claim that they are pulling the Fico10 score and using the Fico10 score, but that is something coming down the pipe. So if you haven't already started to take your credit serious and at least getting it to a point where you can leverage it to get something out of it, then I would start to strongly take that serious. Okay, so there you go, everything you need to know about Fico10 and Fico10T in case you didn't already know. And a nice reminder to those of you who did check this out when it first launched, because I know a lot of people have forgotten. This goes in the back of your mind a year later. Expect this to probably get more important as we come out of Corona and whatnot. Okay, and the last thing I want to touch on, which was by far the most talked about, is the big scare if Fico10 was going to negatively affect authorized users or AU accounts. Even though there was some rumors that, AUs are going to go away and you won't be able to do them anymore and you better get them now. I know that was kind of used for marketing from people who sell AUs and stuff like that. But also too, there was genuine question if, okay, personal loans are going to start to be looked at badly, how AUs might change. And I do believe I read that it was brought up and it was mentioned, but in everything I've found since then, it has not really been talked about. And if we just take a step back and we just look at this from a common sense perspective, banks need their number one goal is to get more people into the ecosystem. Authorized users is a simple way to do that. And it's outbound marketing that's free that they just have to leverage their existing user base. I mean, this is like word of mouth marketing, guerrilla marketing tactics that have been in operation since the 1930s. So do I really think authorized users are going to go away? Personally, no. Could they be affected? Could it start to have less of an impact? Again, I don't really think so, because the whole point of an AU is to not only get yourself in front of the ecosystem and get yourself into the ecosystem that you want to get into, like Amex or Chase, etc., but also too, it helps thin out your utilization. Now, if they're taking a 24-month window, you would be hit all the same. So the fact that they're just looking at a 24-month window is the issue here. And so I don't see it adding additional, I guess, negative light on your credit report, because they're looking at the whole last 24 months. I mean, if you've got issues, there's going to be more than just that. I'm sure of it. And if you've got a brand new credit profile, there's no hiding from that. If you're rebuilding your credit, there's going to be no hiding from that in 24 months. So again, do I think that the AU side is going to take a hit? I really don't. Again, it's going to be best for them to keep bringing more people into the ecosystem, more users, more customers. So it's in their best interest to just let this keep going the way it always has been. And I think it's going to be just as powerful. Understand that, those profiles that were already going to get dinged and already look bad over the last 24 months, well, those are going to look just as bad. So it might just not work as much magic as it did before, because they couldn't really see this data, and that's about it. But anyway, so that's my thoughts on the AU side of it as well. Comment below if you got questions, or you got something that you wanted to add into the conversation. Data points, especially if there's an institution that you know of that's pulling Fico10, I would love to know. And like the video if you want to help us get up in the algorithms, do that whole dance. Subscribe if you're brand new here. A majority of people just view our videos and are not subscribed. Shame, I know. Just takes a second, hit the red button, join the community with us, and hit the bell notification, turn it to all, and that way you'll get notified when we upload, which we upload regularly, almost daily. I would say one video a day, but sometimes we miss a day. So we do upload quite a bit about credit education, as well as credit intel and all kinds of other stuff on the personal and business side. Be on the lookout, more videos coming soon. See ya.